Morning on the last day of winter. Snow swirls outside, large flakes waltzing with one another in the wind, a dawn dance that fills the bay window and belies the advent of spring. I gather my short hair, Bluey, in my arms in front of the fire, and together we watch the flames brighten the hearth and warm the chill. Nuzzling her neck, I whiff a faint odor of skunk and smile at the memory of her assault. A doughboy charge, unflinching and brave, until the spray hit her like mustard gas, me and the lab already hightailing like cowards for trenches behind. From a distance we watched her push her head like a plow through wet sand to wipe the spray from her face. When she came to me at last, I walked her to the truck, pulled out the peroxide and baking soda, and washed her in a pool of woods water from the early thaw. "You're a tough little German, aren't you?" I said to her, knowing I'd been skunked as well. She looks at me for treats, our morning ritual, and when I say no, she sulks to her kennel thinking she's been bad. Gathering my woods gear, I call her name, but she stays back, sensing the ploy. Even the lab carries my slipper half-heartedly, refusing to hide it under the kitchen table in anticipation of the hunt. Both know Bluey is going to the vet. The receptionist is cheery and efficient. "Blue's here for her procedure." "Yes." "Okay, if you'll just sign these forms for me." "Yes, all right," I answer. Bluey pushes against my leg, afraid, tail pressed between her legs, trembling as I stroke her ear and reminding me that every good memory I have of the last 6 years includes her. The veterinarian walks us into a side room and discusses the possibilities of life and death, including today's surgery and perhaps tomorrow's chemotherapy. I admire this tall, seasoned woman for her candor and professional confidence, despite the fear that floods my heart. Unlike the indecisive, meek doctor whose wait-and-see treatment allowed the tumor to blossom like an epaulet on Bluey's shoulder, this woman knows her business. "Histopath?" I ask. "Tissue tests. They tell us what that thing is so we can treat it. Until then, we won't know how long she has to live. It could be 6 weeks, 6 months, or 6 more years. Think of malignancy as a jellyfish. A mature one has long tentacles that wrap around the bone and the blood, whereas a young one may only have penetrated the immediate area. You follow me?" I nod. "Which do you think it is?" "I won't know until I get in there. She's young, so we have youth on our side." I leave Bluey and drive to the woods to practice life without her, the only thing I know to do. Dropping the tailgate, I release the lab, who circles the truck in search of her before heeling beside me. Together we stare at her empty cage. "Goodbye's dry run, boy," I say, trying not to cry. "You ready?" I ask, shivering in the wind. At the words, he launches down the trail in front of me and begins crisscrossing in search of scent. I follow him, ready or not, and enter the woods. Bleak and drab, the landscape reminds me of a carcass. Except for an occasional pine, the trees are grey and barren like the bones of a ribcage picked clean of flesh. Last year's withered oak leaves rattle in the wind, an old man's ragged cough, while a leaden sky spits flecks of snow. I walk for miles, following the lab along familiar paths, and begin to remember better times when the 3 of us hunted this place together. I see Bluey bounding over fallen limbs with dizzying speed and uncanny grace, kicking up snow and sand high as my head, airborne more often than not, as if attached to invisible wires. "Hey, Peter Pan, wait for me," I'd yell, laughing on the dead run at my little gymnast of the woods, greyhound quick, whose spirit and joy for the hunt mirror my own, she and the lab racing together for the first flush, the first point, the first retrieve. And for the rest of the day, we are together again, me and Bluey and the lab. Remembrance of things past forever etched in my heart. In time, the memories and the woods begin to restore me. By afternoon, the weather softens and the sun plays hide and seek with the clouds, creating a subtle alchemy on the landscape. Brown gives way to hues of copper and bronze, and highlights of amber, and grey trunks and branches shine in the gathering light. I notice the deep burgundy leaves of wintergreen, some of them wearing berries like red jewels. A skein of geese passes high overhead, their raucous concert pausing the lab, who cocks his head and follows their flight. Moments later, his tail slashes back and forth, pairing the air. I recognize his sword practice and know a flush is imminent. A single grouse thunders from the underbrush and arcs into the azure before leveling off toward the next county. I shoulder an imaginary gun, fire twice, miss twice, both shots well behind the streaking bird. I smile at the lab. Don't tell Bluey, okay? I pour water into a canvas container and sit beside him while he drinks, my hand on his head. I wish he and Bluey were forever. Given the suffering of so many, I suppose it's wrong to ask God to spare a dog, but I do anyway. Already the sun dips near the horizon and evening's chill touches us. I hold the lab close. Brief candles, all of us. You have to hug them while they're here. The loss of a dog always hurts, but some break your heart forever. It's part of the deal. Accepting that, I whistle the lab to the truck and drive toward the veterinarians, grateful for the past and hopeful for the future. Reprinted with permission from Practicing Goodbye by Dr. T.C. Jennings, 2005. The Upland Almanac, Summer 2007. 2007 by Dr. T.C. Jennings.